welcome back to the YouTube channel. This is Adam Adams, and in today's video that we're going to share with you, I've got a friend of mine. His name is Ryan Nickle, Ryan 5-cent Nickle. All right, Ryan is going to be talking a little bit about why he likes skinny deals. There's some deals out there that people find that they can't do anything with. And then there's others with a big majority of equity. Well, he wants the small ones because he has some creative solutions to be able to actually solve the owner's problem and still profit bigly himself. So I think this is going to be very valuable to you. Please do me a favor, go down to the bottom and subscribe to the channel. I would be so grateful if you would. Well, without further ado, here is Ryan 5-cent Nickle. We will bring in Ryan Nickle. First off, thank you everybody for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Wow. Saturday night, or is it Thursday during the middle of the day? All right, Ryan Nickle, he's been on the podcast. Who doesn't know that I have a podcast? Who does not know that? Raise your hand. Well, I just told you like a minute ago. All right, so the podcast is about creative real estate. It's out-of-box ways and strategies to close on deals. Ryan Nickle's done some incredible things with skinny deals. This is kind of like house hacking. Someone over here said house hacking. I need to get you on the podcast to teach other people what that is. House hacking, what is house hacking? Someone tell me.
Owner-occupying properties and then moving out afterwards.
Owner-occupying properties. What types of properties do you owner-occupy?
Anything. Usually small.
1 to 4?
1 to 4. Can be more if you
I'll be back.
One year, probably, if you can get an FHA loan, you can go in there for 1 year, 1 day, and go keep doing the next one and the next one. All right, so please give him a round of applause. This is Ryan Nickle. He's going to come with a lot of value.
Can you hear me in the back? Yes, no? Well, I'm better that way. So yeah, my name is Ryan Nickle, and I'm going to share with you guys how to build fat bank accounts with skinny deals. It's how I basically went from being financially destitute to being financially free in 3 years. So, I'm going to pull up my keynote here. Alright, we're good. So, yeah, I lost the beard. I'm Ryan Nickle, Ryan 5 cents, and I'm a family man, so this is my family. My wife has a baby bump in this picture, but we have 5 kids, all under 9. So I have a 9, a 7, a 5, a 3, and a 8-month-old who believes she's like 5. She's all over the place and everything. So life is busy. I work from home. I enjoy it. I'm a best-selling author. This is a book that I wrote when I got started in the business. In June of 2015, it was a bestseller on Amazon for how to buy and sell houses. I also have another book. Let's see here. It's Defending Yourself from Foreclosure. I wrote this book because I do a lot of pre-foreclosure work, and this talks about a lot of we've seen a lot of just fraud that has happened with the foreclosure market, and a lot of homeowners that have actually lost their houses that shouldn't have lost their homes. That's what this book is all about. So both of these books are consumer-facing. It's for the consumer, but it's also my lead-in to get the deal. So when I go to the door and I knock on the door, I'm not there asking to buy their house. I'm actually there as someone to help them, and I usually give them a book. I give them a book. It's like my business card. People throw business cards away, they throw postcards away, but they don't throw books away. So I get calls back and like, oh, I got your book here. Yeah, we want your help now. So this was a bestseller as well on Amazon. Crazy thing about it is that it was a bestseller in the practical law guides for real estate. And it was the number 1 in Canada. I'm like, what are the Canadians doing looking at real estate? Of all people in California, that's where this book is based out of. But before all of that, this is what happened to me. So this is a house that I used to own in Idaho, and I lost it to foreclosure. Didn't know anything about real estate investing, to be honest with you. I had a mortgage company during the rise in the early 2000s. I thought I was, hot. I thought I was awesome. Because the market was going up, I thought I was just a genius. The market changed on us, and we moved to California. Actually, I met my wife online, moved to California, kept this as a duplex, and then about 2010, had tenants that decided they didn't want to pay the rent anymore. And I'm like, well, what do? I can't afford this. This is not going to work. So my family and I, we moved back in thinking that we'd save it. Borrowed money from my mother-in-law. We brought it current and just could not keep it together. So we ended up losing our house in foreclosure. The sad thing about it is we were kicked out the day after Christmas. My daughter was just barely 1 year old, and my wife was pregnant with our second. That was probably one of the hardest Christmases that we'd ever had to go through. In fact, my wife, she's like, you know what, we're not going down like this. We were so poor that we couldn't even afford a Christmas tree that year. So what she did was she went down to the construction store. They have people are crafty in Idaho, I don't know why. They have a stationery store that has nothing but construction paper and things to do crafts. So she goes down to that store, and what she does is she buys some green paper and some tinsel, and this was our Christmas tree. And we went to the dollar store, we got a little bit of presents for our little 1 year old, and that was our Christmas that year. Then the day after Christmas, the knock came on the door, and we were forced out. So I decided at that point, I never, ever wanted to be in real estate. It hurt too bad. One, I didn't know what I was doing, and two, who wants to go through that process? Getting foreclosed on, getting kicked out. So we moved back to California. I actually moved in with my in-laws. Moved in with them, got back on our feet, and then we moved to Tahoe, and I was working in Tahoe. And in Tahoe, something happened to me. So my wife posted on Facebook. She says, we lost an important part of our family last week. This is August 2014. Ryan's job. So I lost my job. And at this point now, my wife was pregnant with our fourth child. And so we had 3 kids already. And in Tahoe, if you're not familiar with that kind of a market, you're either telecommuting somewhere or you're in the hospitality market and you're making good money. Well, I was doing neither of those. I just happened to find a job there that brought me up to Tahoe. So when I lost that opportunity, I was scared. And not knowing any better, I decided that I needed to provide for my family somehow, and so we went on food stamps. At that point in my life, it was extremely low. I really didn't know what I was going to do to be able to provide for my family. During all of this time, I had a real estate investor friend who lived in Georgia, and he reached out to me. He was like, hey man, I know you're struggling. Come out to Georgia. We need some help on online marketing, and we'll pay you for it. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I need. So I lost my job in August 2014. My birthday's August 29th. So for my birthday, I flew out to Georgia, hoping that I was going to learn how to, whatever, and I was going to, in exchange for, he was going to pay me to teach him how to do some online marketing. Well, after our 3 days were up, instead of paying me, he said, hey, you know what? I really don't want to pay you. What I'm going to do is I have a home study course. You can take this home study course, and you can learn how to be a real estate investor. I said, who the hell wants that? I need money, man. I got a family I got to support. He's like, well, I think this is the best thing for you. I'm like, no, it's not the best thing for me. The best thing for me is you to pay me. And so I called my wife, and she was pissed. She's like, that's it. You come home with a check, or you don't come home at all. Wow. And I'm like, oh, jeez. So we negotiated. He gave me $500 cash. It wouldn't even pay my mortgage. Actually, I had a mortgage at that time. I was renting. It wouldn't even pay my rent. And he goes, here's my home study course. Do this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got swindled here. So I go back to Tahoe, and here we are, September 17th. Guess what, Tahoe? I buy houses, any condition, any price. How many of you have been there and done that? Where you're an investor for the first time, and you just put it out there. You're like, this is what I do, guys. Well, I thought for sure that because I did that, I was going to have people knocking on my door. It didn't happen. So I still didn't know anything about real estate. So what he was really good at was he was really good at real estate terms. So I learned a lot about terms. But what I didn't know how to do was to go out and find deals. Like, how do you do that? And so I was like telling people at church, telling people in the grocery market, I'm like, oh yeah, I buy houses, yeah, I'm an investor, yeah. And nothing was coming of it. So then I started walking my neighborhood or driving around the neighborhood. I didn't know that there was a term for that. It's called driving for dollars. Yeah, I had no idea. So I'm struggling in Tahoe, and I'm just like, man, this does not work. I can't believe I fell for this. And so around November, the middle of November, he calls me back. He goes, hey man, your stuff online is working like crazy. We've got a lot of traction. People are calling us. I love what you did for us. How's it going to real estate out there? I'm like, yeah, it's not. In fact, I don't know what we're going to do. We're 1 month away from just being completely out of everything. And I don't know what to do. He's like, Well, I'll tell you what, man, because your stuff is working so good on the online marketing part, come to Georgia and I'll walk you through a couple of deals. I'll hold your hand. I'll show you exactly what you need to do. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even know you're going to do that if I go out there.
Yeah, I can't trust you.
So I had nothing else going for me. So what I decided to do was kiss my wife and kids goodbye. And I left. It was the hardest thing I had to do. I packed up my little 1999 Nissan Sentra, and I cried so hard because I did not want to do it, but I had no other choice to do it. So I drove out there, had my one suitcase and a sleeping bag, and I made it to Georgia 2 days before Thanksgiving, and I slept on the floor of this guy's office in the back closet, and I tried to make this deal work. I tried to figure out how to make this deal work. And 3 weeks later, with no money, and no credit, and no bank loaning me money because my credit was trash, I was able to get this first deal done in South Carolina. And I got my first check. $20,000 on December 19th. This changed my life. At this point, I realized I can do this. I called my wife. This time I wasn't tears, it was like fear. These were happy tears, and I cried. And I'm like, honey, pack your bags, you're coming to Georgia. And I tell this to people all the time, that all it takes is just one deal. You're just one deal away from changing your entire financial future. Right now, we're in escrow for a deal. We're going to clear 6 figures. This month is going to be one of the best months we've ever had in real estate. Just one deal alone is a 6-figure deal. And I can't tell you guys that if I wouldn't have taken that leap of faith, I wouldn't be here today. My family wouldn't be financially in the situation that we are today. It just takes that one deal. So, got this deal. Family moved out to Georgia, and we started to buy real estate. Again, with no money, no credit, no banks or lenders, all just using creative real estate. And that's what I want to share with you guys today. So can you imagine what your life would be like when you're able to make money in real estate with no money, basically no lenders, no credit, no banks? That's what I want to share with you. Or you're able to close more deals because you know how to structure them a little bit better than just the traditional wholesale. Go out there, get a property under contract for a lower amount, and then try to sell it for a little bit of a higher amount. I'm going to share with you, especially in the market that we're in now. I don't know if Denver is like it is in California, because that's where I live now. California, we're on a declining market right now. We've kind of plateaued. June was our peak, and now we're starting to see the prices are starting to soften. They're starting to come down. And we have sellers who want to sell, but there's not enough margins for flippers. Those are the deals that I specialize in. I want to share with you how to do that. Also, you guys probably have leads already. You probably have leads right now that you don't know what to do with them. Like one of my number one strategies that I use is I'll call up a wholesaler and I'll ask them, hey, what deals do you have right now that you can't wholesale because no one wants to buy because there's not enough margin on it? It's like, oh, I got a couple of those. I said, send them my way. Those are the deals I can close on. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'll close on those deals. And so I get a lot of business from local wholesalers. So your wholesalers in this room, they're probably sitting on deals, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you how to do all this stuff. So my results, I should tell you, they're not typical, guys. I'm going to walk you through a couple case studies of what I've done. But please understand that you have to do the work. I did the work. I took the leap of faith. I drove cross country. And I sat on the guy's back office floor, man. This is probably softer than the floor I slept on. I was doing my laundry at a laundromat. I was eating microwave food from Walmart. So the microwave broke, and I was like, I don't know what to do now. But it was a challenge. So you definitely have to put in the work. So it's not just like, hey, I know how to do this. Because that was my first mistake was when I was in Tahoe. I thought, oh, I know how to do this. Sure, conceptually I know how to do it. It doesn't happen that way. You have to go out and actually do the work. But I'm happy to share with you exactly what I'm doing that's working for me. So I'm going to share with you some of these secrets that I've discovered. These are the 3 things that I'll share with you. And secret number 1 is you have to identify seller's problems. We'll go deeper into what that means. 2, never buy until you know you have something sold. And then number 3, I'm going to share with you how I only do all-inclusive profit deals. And I'll explain a little bit what that means, what an all-inclusive profit deal looks like. But first, what is seller financing? How many of you have heard that term before, seller financing? All right, so I want to share with you that seller financing is basically where anytime a seller decides to sell a portion of their property on terms, with clearly defined terms. So let's go ahead and define a few of those for us. These are the 3 types of financing that are very common and traditional when it comes to seller financing. your lease options, your contract for deeds, or land contracts. If you're from South Carolina, it's called a bond for title. And then, of course, the subject to. So these are the three types that I want to clearly define for you right now. So lease option. Basically, it's a contract where you're able to lease the property for a set period of time with the option to purchase at a future date and an agreed upon price. Pretty straightforward, right? Lease with an option to purchase. So, contract for deed. How many of you have heard the term contract for deed before? Oh, you just be teaching me. A lot of you, okay. So a contract for deed is a contract that states that you must make payments until paid in full before the deed is transferred to you. So a lot of times when I'm explaining this to individuals that buy my properties, because I do a lot of seller financing. I buy seller financing and I also sell seller financing. And so the way I explain to them is like, look, you'll get the deed when you make that final payment. It's like when you go and buy a car, but you don't have enough money to buy the car outright, and you have to get a loan from the bank. The bank holds that pink slip. You're the registered owner of the car. You can pay your taxes and insurance on the car, but you don't get that pink slip until you make that final payment to the bank. Same principle with me. I'm the bank. You make all of your payments to me. When you make that final payment, I'll give you the deed to the property. You can still be the registered owner. Taxes will be in your name. Insurance will be in your name. But until that's paid, you don't get the deed. They understand that concept when I compare it to a car. So that's basically what a contract for deed is. And then, of course, subject to properties. So subject to is when the property is deeded to you with the understanding that you're going to be taking over the payments of that existing loan. Now, you're not assuming the payments. It's not an assumable mortgage. But you are taking the property subject to that existing debt. That's why it's called the subject to. Does that make sense? All right. So I hear this sometimes, but it's illegal. You can't do that. You can't take over someone's property. There's a mortgage on it. How many of you have heard that before? Or even thought that? Maybe it's illegal to do that. You have, huh? Yes. All right. So does anyone know what this is? I don't know if you can read it or not. What is this? It's a HUD-1 settlement statement. Who provides the HUD-1? Federal government. So if you're closing a transaction, you're going to get a HUD-1 statement. And the federal government is what provides this. They also regulate it. How many of you have seen this? Line 203. In some states, it's also 803. It says, existing loans taken subject to. What does that mean?
Loan is staying.
Loan is staying with the property. The federal government has made an allowance for people to take over property subject to. It's right there in their HUD statement. So it's definitely not illegal, guys. You can definitely take over these properties. But what about the due on sale clause? How many of you heard of the due on sale clause? What is that? It's like the boogeyman, right? But if you take over this property, can't the bank call the mortgage due? That's another concern that a lot of... it's funny because when I'm talking to a homeowner who's going to lose his house anyway, he's like, how do I care, man? If you're taking it over and something happens to you, that's on you, that's on me. But when I talk to and I'm not meaning to point any fingers here, it's just this is how my experience has gone. But when I talk to real estate agents who are in the middle of a transaction, like, oh, my seller will not do that. There's a due on sale clause there, and they're going to lose their house if they do this. I'm like, they're going to lose their house anyway. But it's a valid concern that people have. There's a due on sale clause. So how do you get around the due on sale clause? Anyone know? Yeah.
You add yourself or the buyer to the insurance as an additional insurance rather than changing the address. Because usually that's where they pick it up.
Okay. So he said you add yourself to the buyer's insurance policy. What if it's an investment property?
Their name's on the note.
Okay. Good point. Yeah.
You make the payment.
You make the payment?
And then they don't verify.
True. All they care, most of these mortgage companies are not truly mortgage companies. It's not a portfolio loan. They're just servicers for the existing, Wall Street investor, whoever that may be, some kind of, REMIC trust. So let me share with you my experience of how this has happened. And he's partially right. So I bought a property from PNC Mortgage. Have you guys heard of PNC Mortgage before? Yeah. Are they a small company? They're quite large. So I bought this property, and what we ended up doing was, I'll share with you, when you buy a property and who did the insurance go in when you buy a property?
Buyer's name and the mortgage order.
Let's say you buy a property outright cash.
Yeah.
It's going to go in the buyer's name, right? Yeah, it's the buyer's name. What happens when you buy a property and you're the buyer? You're now on title, but you're the only one on title, and there's an underlying mortgage that's in someone else's name. Who goes on the insurance?
Mortgage for that policy.
That's exactly right. You own it. They won't insure something that you don't own, so you have to insure your own property. So the insurance has to change because you're now the new legal owner of the property. But you have to also add, as an additional insured, whoever's name is on that mortgage. How do I find out? Or how do I know this? Well, I learned the hard way from this bank. So we bought this property, put it in my name, add the additional insured. We purchased it, came up for renewal. And when the agent renewed the property, they forgot to add the additional insured on that policy back to the lender. I get this letter from the bank, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is July 2016, so I'm only in doing this. If you remember, my first check was December 2014. So here I am, a year and a half into this, and I get this letter from the lender. And I thought, holy crap, I'm going to jail. I'm losing everything. I knew I should have gone back into real estate. This is exactly why I should have done this. And I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, oh, I can't believe it. We're going to lose this house. We're going to lose everything we've ever worked for. And this time, we're still struggling. I'm still on food stamps, by the way. I'm still trying to dig myself out of a hole to make enough money cash flow-wise to support my family. We have a couple of rentals that are coming in, and we're doing okay, but we don't have enough to sustain ourselves without any kind of assistance. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's over. And I took this letter, and I threw it I didn't throw it away, thankfully, but I threw it in a part of my office space that I knew I wouldn't get to it. And it kept eating at me. I mean, we all have those piles, right? It's like, I don't want to deal with this. It just sits there. So it's eating at me, and I'm like, all right, I got to go see what this thing says. So I pull it out, and I read it, and I realize that, I didn't do too well in high school. Obviously, I didn't understand the letter when I read it the first time. So I read it through very slowly, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't even say what I thought it says. It says, because our mortgage is in your name, you must also be listed on the policy. If you have sold this property on the land contract, the insurance agent for the party occupying the property must list you as an additional insured. You see that?
So it said it was.
These guys aren't stupid. They know exactly what happened, but they say, if you sold, keyword sold this property on a land contract, we don't care. Just put your name on the insurance policy and we're good. This was my golden ticket. After that, I'm like, hell yeah. We'll get all these properties now. Because for a while, I was like, I got to go under the radar. I don't want them to find out. And as soon as I got this, I'm like, let's blow this stuff up. Let's go get all these properties. And then I learned something else. Got a little bit more sophisticated. That's what happens in real estate. We start off, we learn something, we go through it, we stumble a little bit, we learn something more. I mean, this gentleman was doing 64 units. He says, always learning. So you're constantly always learning. So I learned something from an attorney. Believe it or not, they do know some stuff. Garn-St Germaine Act of 1982. This is what completely changed the whole due on sale clause for me. This act, what it says, is basically that the owner of record may transfer their interest in their property from their given name to a trust without triggering the due on sale clause. So guess what? I now have all of my properties in land trusts. Every single one of my properties are in a separate individual land trust. Who transferred it into the trust? By the owner, of course. And then what we end up doing is we're either the beneficial interest on that land trust, or in most cases, we have them transfer the trust prior to us taking over the property, and when the money exchanges hands, we just buy that beneficial interest, not a recordable instrument, and we own the properties, we control the properties, and no one's the wiser, and money's being paid every single month to the lender, and we're in complete compliance with the law. That's how you get around the due on sale clause. All right, so let's jump into this here. So, secret number one is identifying the seller's problem. So, seller finance deals, they're not found, guys. They are created. I can't tell you how many new people that are in the industry that come up to me, hey man, how do I find a seller finance transaction? Because I went to the seller, I knocked on his door and I said, hey, I see you have a house for sale for $185,000. I'll give you $10,000. You sell me the house for $1,500 a month payments and we're good, right? And they're like, who are you? No, I want all my money. Get out of my face. And that's usually what happens. Sellers want all their money. So what you have to do is you have to learn to identify what is the seller's problem and how can you solve that problem by taking the real estate out of the equation. Let me show you what I mean. These are problems that happen to a seller in any market, an up market, a flat market, and a declining market. These are problems that are happening every day. Job transfers, divorce, tired landlords, evictions, probate, foreclosure, bankruptcy. They need the money, but they can't show the income for whatever reason. Avoid capital gains, job loss, no equity, upside down, and many, many more. These are all problems that are happening right now today in your market with your sellers. Find out what the problem is, and then you can solve it. Let me show you. This is a house that we bought in Sacramento. The husband and wife were going through a divorce. They owed on it basically at market. It was I think we were like right around, market was like 182 and they owed like 179. It's like, there's nothing there. And they're getting a divorce and they were behind 2 months and they needed a little bit of repair work too. So that's one example. This house was in bankruptcy. Mother's income was used to pay the bills. She was declining in health, so they had to move her into a care facility. As soon as she left the house, guess what? Her money went with her, and they could no longer afford the property. In fact, I'll tell you a little. What are you doing on time? I didn't get up.
I'm recording that. I don't see.
That's okay. Yeah.
Time.
So this is the first house that I bought for my family in Savannah, Georgia. We lived in this house for about a year in Savannah. Funny story was the neighbor down the street told me that the guy couldn't afford the house anymore. And I thought, oh, that's crazy. It's a crazy situation. You know, I buy houses that people can't afford. So I drove by, and he had a riding lawnmower. So this house was about on a quarter acre. So there's a lot of land in the back, and it's grassy. And he has a brand new riding lawnmower. Like, he probably used it like twice. And it's for sale for $600. And I'm like, all right, I know how to approach this guy. So I go up there and I'm like, hey, I just moved in down the street. So we did. We're renting the property. Funny thing, we're renting the property from the guy who brought us out there. We were renting for like $1,100. Ended up taking over this property for $750 a month. I'm like, man. Anyway, so I'll tell the story. So he had this lawnmower. I'm like, hey, you selling your lawnmower? I'm like, yeah, I don't need it anymore. I was like, man, it's a great lawnmower. I need it for my yard. Well, what are you going to do? You have a lot of grass here. Did you buy a new one? Well, no, I did buy a new one, but I just don't need it no more. I'm like, well, who's going to cut your yard? Do you have like a yard maintenance guy? Tell you the truth, I'm actually losing my house. Can't afford to make the payments anymore. This is the last month we're going to be in, and we're going to mail the keys back. I'm like, are you behind? He's like, nope. We're just going to mail the keys and move on. I got this RV here. I mean, I don't know what year he dug this out of, but it was an RV, but I don't know how good of an RV it was. And he's like, yeah, so I'm just going to sell everything I have, and then we're going to get in the RV and go as far as we can go, and then just park it. I was like, all right, well, I'll tell you what. My wife and I are looking to buy a house. We like this street here. If I buy your lawn, I said, tell you what. I'll buy your lawnmower if you let me take over the payments on your house. He's like, son, you got a deal. He's like, in fact, you want to see what else I got? So we go inside, get a fully furnished house for $2,000. So I gave him $2,000 cash, took over all of his property, all of his furniture, real nice stuff too. Just didn't have any room for it, and solved his problem. Solved my problem. I got a house that I needed. So yeah, guys, it's out there. This guy did a job transfer. He's retired military. He did an out-of-state job from South Carolina to Idaho, and he was upside down $50,000. He'd been renting it off and on for about 2.5 years. And it got vandalized during one of those times. He had to fly back out here about another like $10,000 into it and get it all fixed up. He was ready to go. He was just like, I'm done. All right. So the solution on every one of these deals was I was able to solve someone's problem by taking the real estate out of the equation for them. I honestly believe that no one should have their life on hold because of real estate. And so many people do. They put their life on hold until they can solve this real estate problem. And if you can come in and show them how you can take that problem away from them, take it from off their shoulders, you got deals. You got deals all over the place. So my profit on these deals, when I sold this one, when we moved to California, I took $5,000 down, $403 a month. We're close to about, I think we're at $569 a month on this one. cash flow on it. This one here took $12,000 down, $200 a month cash flow. That one, 11,800 plus 209. So you can see there's money to be made. Secret number 2: never buy until you know you've got something sold. I have violated this rule a few times, and every time that I have violated this rule, I've ended up losing money. In fact, well, I shouldn't say that yet because it hasn't. There's one deal right now I'm in the middle of that I violated this rule on, and I'm probably gonna have to write myself a check or write a check for about $16,000 because I violated that rule. So when I tell you never buy until you know you have it sold, just trust me on this. It's going to save you every single time. Okay, so you never have to put a dime into the deal even when the seller wants a down payment. You know the old adage, you need money to make money? Doesn't apply in this situation at all. And so when you learn how to structure a win-win situation where it's a win for the seller and a win for the new buyer, and you can keep yourself in the middle, that's what I'm talking about. Those are the win deals that you're looking for. Let me show you what I mean. This guy, he needed money, but he couldn't show it. He broke his neck. He was a painter. He was painting someone's house, fell off the roof, broke his neck. Lucky to be alive. Wife had cancer. She was in remission, fortunately. They wanted to sell their house and get into something smaller, closer to their kids. If they sold their property and they showed some kind of income, she would lose her medical. That was paying for her insurance, or the insurance was paying for her chemo. Excuse me. She's taking cancer medicine that was like $2,000 a month to keep her in remission, and so they could not show an increase there. But they wanted $20,000, so that was the challenge that we had with that house. This one here, mom moved back home to die. It's kind of morbid, but that's exactly what happened. She was from another country, like by Thailand. It's called Burma. So she moved out there. And the house was in foreclosure. Daughter was given the POA, power of attorney, and they wanted $6,500. Excuse me. And so that was a challenge on this one. This guy here, his name was, this is a funny character. His name was Jan. Jan is from Sweden, but he moved to Mexico. And so every time I call him, he's like, this is Jan from Mexico. And I'm like, and that's how we always tell him, like, hello Ryan, this is Jan from Mexico. I'm like, hey Jan. So Jan, he had rented this property. This is in a country club. This is in the States. It's very high-end property. He had rented it for off and on for about 7 years. He tried to sell it, but at this particular time, it had sat in the market for about 7 months vacant, and his holding cost was $2,000 a month. And he wanted $25,000 for it. So on every one of these deals, I was able to find a buyer who was able to give the seller exactly what they wanted and still pay me what I wanted in the deal. So that's what I mean about structuring these deals so that they're wins for everybody and you can keep yourself in the middle. So let me show you what the profit looked like on each of these. This one here, I only made $650 on this one, but I cash flowed it $185 a month. This one was $2,500 to me plus $288 a month, and then on Jan's, Jan didn't want me to have any of the cash flow. He's like, no, you can just keep the $17,500. That's fine with me. You can have that. I want the monthly payment. And that's what we did. And made some good money on these deals, but because we solved their problems.
So the other ones, do you split the cash flow, or was that all?
When I own the property, when I take over subject to, it's all me. It's my house. On this particular one, though, he wanted $20,000, so we paid him $7,500 down, and then he carried a note on the second. So we pay him $250 a month every single month. Funny thing is, he can't show income. So what do? It's probably like it's like the worst thing for me every single month is he wants Walmart to Walmart. And you can't send that you have to go into Walmart and do that. So of course, the first of the month, I'm in line with everybody else sending money to their mother and family and everywhere, all over the world. And it's like a 40-minute ordeal. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, can I pay you off? Can I give you lump? No, I can't have lump sum. I just do $250 a month. I'm like, okay. I'm gonna hit him up at Christmas time. I'm like, hey man, because we only owe him $3,000 more. I'm like, dude, I'll give you $2,000 right now at Christmas. Just take it, please. I'm tired of going to Walmart. Well, Walmart recently just changed. They have a mobile app. And if you do the app online, you can actually go to the express line. So now I just walk straight to the front of the counter, and everyone's looking at me, scowling at me. But it turns a 40-minute ordeal into like a 50.
But
Would
it's
it
too-
would
yeah,
Venmo
bank
do
account?
that?
What?
Venmo?
He doesn't have. So okay, they're older.
Okay, so they don't have.
They're like, yeah, these guys are very simple. Just
Right.
yeah.
But what's the Walmart thing? They're getting-
Walmart to Walmart, they send. You give money to Walmart, and they'll send it to another Walmart, and they can go like within 10 minutes later, even just pull that cash out.
Oh, well, like Western Union.
Kind of like Western Union, yeah, without all the hassle. So that's that. We're almost done, like I said. A couple more. Maybe here left before we're done with that one. So secret number 3: only do all-inclusive profit deals. This is a big one, guys. Especially when people get into this business. When I first got started in real estate, I thought, there's a 3-step real estate investor evolution. There's the grind. You're wholesaling out there. You're like, yeah, I'm grinding this thing out. I'm trying to build my business. I'm a wholesaler. And you're looking for these medium-sized paydays, these $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 paydays, right? And then the idea, the evolution is that as I'm grinding this out, I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to have enough money that I can start this growth phase of my business, where I'm going to start flipping. I'm going to have these large paydays, these $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 paydays, because now I'm flipping these properties. And I mean, there's probably like a 3 to 5 year transition to here, maybe another 3 to 5 years here, and then you get like finally, I have enough money in these large paydays, I can start buying whole properties, pay them off completely, and getting my monthly paydays. My $1,200, $1,500 a month paydays. This is the goal. Usually, it's in our golden years because we've worked so damn hard to get to that point. That's usually like the evolution of how I understood real estate. It's like, okay, I got to grind it, I got to grow it, and then I'm going to get into the golden phase. Well, what I'm teaching you and what I do is an all-in-one perfect strategy. So seller financing is the perfect 3-in-1 strategy because I get small monthly payments every single month. I get cash flow between $250 to $500 per property. Medium-sized paydays. When they move in, they're giving me down payment money, usually 10% of the purchase price. So in California, about $200,000 is our average, so getting $20,000 paydays. And then large paydays when I have equity in these deals when they cash me out, and I have cash out quite a few times on these deals. So in one transaction, I get the best of all of those. I get all 3.
Most of your deals or not really needing much fixing, flipping. Much fixing.
Some of them are move-in ready.
Yeah.
Some of them are just complete garbage holes. And prior to the market starting to shift, I would sell it as is. Like, hey, if you want this house, take it or leave it. $20,000 down. These are my monthly payments. You fix it up, you clean it up yourself. And I had people who were beating the line to my door. In August, I picked up a property, and I thought for sure I'd do the same thing. It was crickets. I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on here? The secret sauce is wearing out. So I actually had to. I spent about $6,000 on this house. Took the carpets out. Brought the floors back, hardwood floors back to life. Pool was green as can be. Cleaned the pool up, refinished the pool. Did a couple other things to it. Got a $30,000 down payment on it. 10 more than I was asking for it. But so the cleanup I've learned my lesson. There's a rule in this business. Your properties reflect your buyers, and your buyers reflect your properties. And so when I started cleaning up my properties, I started getting better tenants, better buyers, better down payments, better monthly cash flow. So. But when I first got started, my philosophy was, I don't have the money to do this. In fact, I'm waiting on the buyer to give me the money so that I can pay the seller. I don't have money to go clean it up. And so that was my strategy, was as is. And sometimes I would give them at a discount. I give them sweat equity, like, I'll take $5,000 off because you have to clean it up or something like that. Good question. So when you buy and sell using seller financing, you're able to do all this without your own money. And the best part is that when you do it this way, you're able to get, all this money, like monthly cash flow, without being the hassle of being a landlord. Because whoever's buying the property from me, they're responsible for the taxes, for the maintenance, for the insurance, for the upkeep, all of that stuff. I'm not getting phone calls in the middle of the night, hey, my water heater's going out. I'm like, hey, I'm the bank. You're not going to call Wells Fargo and say, come fix my water heater. Don't call me. Fortunately, we do all that. We have a disclosure and we let them all know. Right. In fact, I got one guy right now. He's in the house. He's like, hey, man, I've been wanting to put more money down because he wants to buy it off faster. He's like, but I can't. I just realized the electrical is completely shot in this house. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. He's like, yeah, don't worry about it, man. We're just so happy to be in this house. We're going to fix the electrical. We're going to do a few more upgrades, and then we'll start, applying more towards the principal. I'm like, whenever you do that, that's fine. No rush. So I love that because they understand their position, that they are the buyers. They're not going to come to me to fix things.
Can you go back one slide? Is it, or is that hard?
I can do it over here.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. What's your question?
I just was taking pictures to send to someone else.
I got you. If you see, please, I'll do it.
I don't want everybody to. Please.
So Ryan, you're not wholesaling these, you're just kind of lease options.
I lease option if they don't have enough for a full down payment, but I graduate that lease option into into seller finance because I don't want to get rid of them. They're paying me. That's my income. I mean, that's we have enough money right now that our cash flow comes in from all these properties and we're set. So yeah, I don't want. I mean, people do buy us out. That happens, but yeah, I don't want to get rid of them.
Is there a prepayment penalty?
No. So these are the two takeaways that I want for you guys is one, know your acquisition strategy. Know how you're buying the properties. And then two, what's your exit? How are you going to sell this property to somebody else? So when I buy, I automatically know what my exit is. And I never buy, I should say never. Like I told you, I violated that rule. For the most part, I rarely buy without selling it first. When I sell it, that's how I make the money, that's how I protect myself, that's how I know I have a good investment. But the market's spoken to me, says, yes, we want this property. Versus sitting on something and going, oh, I'll sell this all day long, and then, holy crap, we're not going to sell this, it's a pre-foreclosure, we're going to have to write a check here, bring it out of the market, and we're going to take a lesser down payment. So when should you call me? Well, if you have a lead that you don't know what to do with it, give me a call. You have a skinny deal, really thin margins, give me a call. When someone is ready to walk away and they need a quick close and there's not enough equity for a flipper, give me a call. This is how I partner with people. If you're just going to give me a name and phone number and I close on it, I'll give you $500. And if you have a warm handoff, I'm like, hey, I know this guy, he's ready to do, he's ready to move, but I just don't know what to do with it. I'll hand it off to you. I'll tee you up. I'll split with the down payment with you 25%. If you have a buyer, or you have a seller, you have a seller in contract, and he's like, I gotta sell this house. I guess I don't know what to do with it. I'm gonna sell it. And you don't know what to do with it either. Give me a call. I'll split the 50-50 down payment with you. You're already in contract. You've already done most of the work there. We can do it that way. Don't worry about this, guys. I'm not taking on any new students right now. But that's how you can get a hold of me. My phone number or Step REI. And how are we doing on time? What time is it?
12:42.
12:42.
How much time do you want?
Well, I have a bonus section I can share with them.
Do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Ryan, how do you identify these situations how do you identify these seller area opportunities other than the knock on the door?
Did you have a question?
I said ask questions.
Yeah, ask questions. So, for a long time, so in California, you guys unfortunately don't have it out here. It's called Property Radar. And Property Radar will have a list of all of the pre-foreclosures that are going in. So it's California, Nevada, Oregon, Arizona, and Washington State. But for the longest time, I was using Zillow. You pull up Zillow, it has these blue dots that are pre-foreclosure, and I just drive around the neighborhood and I go, oh, that's a house right there. Go knock on the door. So that's one way to do it. Yeah.
Sorry, what's the name of that company that you're talking about?
Property Radar.
They're not in Colorado.
They're not in Colorado.
You can use Renab.
Yeah, Renab. Yeah, you guys probably have a local one that's different. Yeah, so Renab, there you go. Yeah.
When you're cutting down the pre-foreclosures, what do you find your best method to actually get a hold of them? Phone calls, knocking doors, letters?
I've done a lot of pre-foreclosures where I've ponied up money for people to move, given them moving trucks and stuff like that. A lot of personal drama comes with that. I myself have been through a foreclosure. I know the heartache. So every time I hear someone like crying, like, oh, I'm losing my house, it immediately takes me back to my wife and my kids getting kicked out on Christmas. And I'm like, oh, like emotionally, I don't want to be there. For some people, I can empathize with them. I'm like, I know what you're going through. It's tough, I know. But honestly, vacant pre-foreclosures are like gold mines because they've already washed their hands and walked away. They're like, look, I don't want this house anymore. You can take it to bank. You can have it. So when I pull up this information, I'm looking to see. I'm driving around. Which one of these foreclosures are vacant? They've already walked away, but the bank hasn't quite taken it yet. Are you guys a non-judicial or judicial state? Non-judicial. You're non-judicial? So you have options. Okay. So up until the auction, you guys can go and you can negotiate with your guys. And so when you see a vacant house that's under pre-foreclosure status, man, that is a home run all the way. Because you got to only give them a couple grand. Like, here's $2,000 or $3,000, man. Sorry for your troubles. Just deed it over to me, and I'll take care of the rest. All right.
So we had a deal just very recently fall through because the seller thought he just wasn't getting enough from us, but the house needed work. Like, it was upside down, and he was ready to like lose the property.
Okay.
And we almost had it under contract, but then he's like, well, I don't know, I think this is worth more. He's like, if it goes to auction, then the auctioneers are gonna pay me back. And we're like, okay.
You have surplus fund. We have to go through the appeal process to get all that stuff, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how do you overcome something like that? There wasn't like any room at all whatsoever. And the house needed about 10 grand worth of work.
Well, on top of that, the attorneys had told us, hey, you don't really want to screw with this stuff with pre-foreclosure here, so we were, we would call you now that we know.
Right,
Let's
yeah.
get a deal.
I mean, will you still do it though? The house had a really bad roof leak and needed to be fixed before anything could be done anyway.
Well, it comes down. So here's a rule that I have. My rule of thumb is this: is that all money invested in, money to my seller, money to bring things current, money for anything else. I'm going to give an assignment fee to somebody or whatever. That all has to be less than 10% of the purchase of the ARV. So all fixed up. If ARV is let's say the $100,000 house, all my money into the deal has to be less than $10,000. If not, I'm writing a check because I know I can't sell the house for more than 10 grand, the down payment. So I would look at my numbers. Okay, how much is it going to be for the roof? How much is it going to be for the seller who wants 10 grand? How much is it going to be to bring things current? If there's a real estate agent involved, is there commissions you have to pay? Sounds like that might be more than 10%. So in that particular situation, no good for me. And I just would walk. So I want to share with you guys some patterns because all this game really is about recognizing the pattern. So I'm going to share with you some of the deals that either we passed on or deals that we did, so that you can recognize the pattern. So that as you're out there, either on your own leads right now today, or as you come across certain situations and scenarios, you can learn to recognize that, oh, this is the deal. Ryan said this is the deal. You guys cool for that? Yeah. All right. Get technology to catch up with us now. All right, so bonus session, skinny deal math. All right, so I'm going to share a scenario, ask you what you do, you tell me if it's a deal or no deal. Ready? Set?
Go.
All right, so example number one. Seller owes $177,000. ARV is $185,000. It needs $3,000 behind in payments. It needs $1,500 worth of work. Monthly payment is $1,240. That's including everything PITI. The 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Fair market rent is only $1,100. Deal or no deal?
No deal.
No deal, right? This is like, I'm going to buy that. All right, we said no deal. Wrong. The deal. I had him deed it over to me, and I sold it for $195, $18,000 down, $1,400 a month, $1,500 work credit. Profit to me was $13,500 and $200 a month.
What is a work credit?
Sweat equity. So that was the deal. The reason why it was a deal.
You found a mug.
What?
You found a mug.
I found a mug. That's right. I found an idiot guy. Just like. No, I found a long-term investor who said, I'll buy that property all day long. I know I can get the rents up. And in fact, this was in Sacramento. This was about 2.5 years ago. Rents for this property right now are about $1,700. He's done very well. And his equity increased. He's about $260,000 his house is now. So he bought on the appreciation. Lead source was an investor who had to fall out of escrow because what? Too skinny. That's right. Okay, example number 2. Free and clear property, ARV $185, $40,000 in repairs. This is before I knew how to do the repairs. I was off by about $15,000.
Under? Over down?
Huh?
Under?
I was under, yeah. Yeah. It was like a $55,000 rehab job, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't rehab this stuff. So 4-bedroom, 3-bath. I offered him $65 cash. He countered back $135 cash. I'm like, we're not in the same world, are we? This is not how it works. What do you guys think? Deal or no deal? No deal. You guys can't do it for $135? Come on, guys.
I'm going to say you're going to do a deal on this.
No.
Why not?
I did a deal on this one, guys.
Yeah.
This is probably the most creative deal I've done year to date. I've never done anything this creative since. And it's because I was desperate. I needed the money. It's amazing what happens when you need money. I bought it for $125, $2,000 down, $750 a month, amortized over 30 years with a 5-year balloon. So I bought this one. And I sold it. So here's how I bought it. Here's how I sold it. $135, $7,000 down, $900 a month payment, amortized over 40 years with a 5-year balloon. Let me show this to you. So, seller gives me $7,000. I pay $2,000 to, buyer. Buyer pays me $7,000. I pay the seller $2,000, and Hip Pocket National Bank gets the other $5,000. That's how that works.
You do any work on it?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I take that back. There's a broken tree limb that was in front of the property. I just pulled it to the side so it showed a little bit better. That's about it. And I cash flowed $150 a month.
Where was the property at?
Yuba City, California.
Is this the one that you were saying you needed about, you were 15 grand under,
Uh-huh.
and you didn't do anything to it?
Nothing.
So the new buyer is the one that's going to fix up the property.
Yep. Time she moved in, she's like, my boyfriend will handle all this stuff. Boyfriend moved out 3 weeks later. I was like, I can't do this thing. So he moves out. House looks very nice, by the way. She's done a lot to this house. I'm going to answer a question that you haven't asked yet, but I'm going to answer it in just a second.
So, just real quick, based off that, because that was another thing with the attorney. You're not actually buying them. You're the owner. But see, they had told us, the attorney, like, if the seller, like that situation that happened,
Yeah.
the seller comes back, or the buyer comes back, they default. And
I'm responsible to continue to make the payment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll just turn around and sell it again. It's all approved. I'll sell for more of a down payment and higher monthly rent.
Right.
Yeah. So on this one, my balance to the original seller in 5 years is going to be $114,600. My balance to the buyer is $125,000. It's an additional profit of $10,000 that I built in through financing, through creative financing, by being the bank. Called arbitrage. It's the spread between the two different payments. So when we look at that, we take the $5,000 down payment that I took, 60 months times $150 a month is $9,000, so that's cash flow, plus the equity is $10,700, blah, 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 so whatever. Total profit on this deal is $24,000. I'm surprised no one's asked this question, but wait, what happens if at 5 years she can't perform?
Get it back.
What happens at that point? Well, I get it back, but the seller, I have a balloon too. So what happens to that property?
Sell it again, refinance.
I go back and I renegotiate with the seller and say, hey, you know what? Market's changed. Guess what? It has. I've been in this property for 3.5 years now. Market's changed. Let's go another 5 years. You're okay with the monthly payment, aren't you? Yeah, sure I am. Okay, great. Let's keep going. That's one option. However, I'm not one to play games like that. I don't want to gamble that the seller's going to say no. If he says no, that's totally cool. I've made money, right? I didn't get my equity out of it, but I'm okay with the $14,000. However, when I selected this particular buyer, she was 36. She's a trust fund baby. At 40 years, she has access to all of her money. Where do you think the repairs have come on this property? It's come from her trust. Little by little, every single year, there's a new project that needs to get done and approved through her trust. So I'd say we're 3.5 years into it. Come year 4.5, she's going to cash us out. If she doesn't, then we'll go to plan B, but that's the plan. She's already made enough improvements to it, and she has the money in the trust. And she has a beautiful property. Right now, it's probably worth about $280,000. She got a great deal. Yeah.
My question is so you're buying the house from the seller, you put it into your land trust, and then you sell it on an installment land contract to the buyer.
Yep.
Is it easy to, if they don't perform, kick it out of that contract? And
That's
get
a
the house
great
back?
question. So if the buyer doesn't perform, it's just a breach of contract. You sue for eviction and they're out.
Okay.
Yep.
So just like you would a rental.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a rent to own kind of thing.
Okay.
Yep.
So, is a skinny deal, I know some situations where through realtors that, in Boulder in fact, that there are houses that have not yet been grabbed up and the prices are going down, they're gorgeous houses. Are they someone to approach for a potential skinny deal?
So we have situations like that as well in California. The challenge that we're running into is that the monthly payment is higher than fair market rent by a significant difference. And so for some people, they're willing to pay a premium because they're owning the property, but they're not willing to pay $1,000 above fair market rent. They're like, I'll just rent for 2 years and clean my credit up and then buy a house. And so that's something you have to pay attention to is what's the monthly payment versus what is the rent market. But I've heard someone said the rents are inflated here.
Yes.
So then you might have a sweet deal there. Anyone want more? Oh, lead source, drive to for thank you.